Have you ever felt that someone understands you completely without speaking a single word? He didn't ask for anything, didn't say anything, yet you end up giving him everything. Have you ever wondered why this happens? This doesn't happen by chance. This is an art, an invisible web that touches your soul. It's called pay attention to detail. Once upon a time, there was a girl. She was in the safest hands of her life. Hands that were her protector, her guardian. But they were human too. And the deepest weakness of a human is emotion. That boy never said anything. He just did. A fragrance, a color, a poem. And one evening, he filled hundreds of fireflies in a pouch and left them behind the curtains of her room. The moment she turned off the light, the entire room lit up. The girl thought it was magic. But it wasn't magic. It was detail. Everything, every moment, every color, every silence. Everything was pre-planned. The child inside her was awakened again. The one who notices everything. Sounds, smells, touches. The one the world had forgotten. It came alive again. And this is real control. When you take someone into a world where they forget the real world. Where there is no hurry, no greed, no fear. Just feelings woven with attention. Today's world is fast. Everything is in a rush. But when you move slowly, when you pay attention to every little thing, the person in front doesn't just see you. They see themselves inside you. Seduction, manipulation, control. These words may sound dangerous. But real power lies not in scaring someone, but in making them feel. When you wear their favorite fragrance, when their favorite flowers are on the table, when even your silence plays a melody, then they don't just understand you, they feel you. And when a person starts feeling, their mind surrenders and their heart comes into your fist. This is the secret that the greatest emperors, the cleverest lovers, and the most dangerous players of the world have used for centuries. Pay attention to detail. Because when you focus on the small things, the other person becomes blind to the big ones. Now think, do you want that power too? Do you want to bind people in your web without saying a word? Then stay with this video. Because now begins the story that will teach you how to become a person whose silence alone can pierce the other's heart. So let's begin. The Art of Seduction, Law 21. December 1898. In the biting winter of Beijing, a strange news created a sensation. The wives of the most senior Western ambassadors stationed in China received an invitation that had no precedent, no imagination. The invitation was a special imperial banquet held in the Forbidden City, hosted by the 63-year-old Empress Dowager Cixi. Now pause for a moment. This was the same Cixi from whom the Western ambassadors were extremely angry. There were many reasons. She was Manchu, a tribe from the north that conquered China in the early 17th century and established the Qing dynasty, ruling for nearly 300 years. By the end of the 19th century, Western powers saw China as a backward nation and started carving it up. They wanted to modernize China. But the Manchu rulers were conservative. They fiercely opposed reforms. That very year, in 1898, Cixi's nephew, Emperor Guangxu, began some reforms, with Western approval. But in just 100 days, shocking news came from the Forbidden City. The emperor is ill, and power is back in Empress Cixi's hands. The West suspected foul play, a conspiracy. Had the emperor been poisoned? Was he even alive? While the ambassadors' wives prepared for this extraordinary invitation, their husbands clearly warned them. Never trust the empress, a woman who rose from being an ordinary palace maid to the most powerful figure in the empire through cunning and cruelty. Then came the day of the imperial banquet. The gates of the Forbidden City opened. The women were carried inside in palanquins, studded with gold and silver, attended by imperial servants. Every servant's attire was like a shining dream. The Western ladies had no left stone unturned either. Tight corsets, velvet long gowns, flamboyant puffed sleeves, wide petticoats, and towering hats with feathers. When the women of the Forbidden City saw these foreign ladies' dresses, their eyes froze for wonder. The exposed bosoms and the cut of the clothes were a spectacle of wonder for Chinese women. The Western wives were fully confident. They had proven themselves. In the audience hall, princes, princesses and royal family members welcomed them. Chinese women were adorned in Manchu attire, tall black jeweled traditional headdresses. The color of each robe indicated their court rank. The entire scene was like a painting filled with rainbow colors. But this wasn't just a banquet, it was a move. Behind it was hidden the real game of power. And in this game, Cixi cast her true spell on the world. Sometimes the sharpest strike is hidden in the quietest smile. One smile, one cup of tea, and the whole world changed. The grandeur of the imperial court was at its peak. The ambassadors' wives were served tea in delicate porcelain cups, each cup a work of art, translucent, exquisite, priceless. Then they were taken to a sight that stopped their breath for a moment. Before them sat Empress Cixi on the dragon throne, studded with jewels. Like a dream realm, her robe was made of heavy silk brocade. On her forehead a crown glittering with diamonds, pearls and jade. Around her neck a massive pearl necklace, each pearl perfectly matched and flawless. She was physically very frail, but on that throne, in that attire, she looked like a goddess, small yet colossal. Then she looked at the women and gave a smile filled with genuine warmth, a smile that silenced all doubts. And then, like a miracle, below on a smaller throne, sat Emperor Guangxu. His face was pale, yes, but his welcome was warm. Perhaps he really was just ill now. Cixi shook hands with every woman, and each time an imperial servant placed a large golden ring with a huge pearl in her hand. Cixi herself slipped the ring onto each woman's finger, as if binding a relationship. After that they were taken to another chamber where tea was served. Again, and then to the imperial banquet hall. Now Cixi was seated on a yellow satin chair. Yellow, the color reserved only for emperors in China. She spoke to them in a voice that could call birds from the trees. It was said her voice could summon birds from the branches. At the end of the conversation, she held each woman's hand again. This time there was moisture of emotion in her eyes. And she said one sentence, "One family. We are all one family." This wasn't an ordinary sentence. It was magic that descended into those women's hearts as trust. They were given more gifts, then carried back in palanquins and taken out of the imperial palace. When they returned to their husbands, there was only one thing in their eyes: wonder and respect. The American ambassador's wife said, she was radiant, joyful. There was a glow of true goodwill on her face. There was not the slightest glimpse of cruelty in her. Every action of her had generosity, humanity. We returned with respect for the Empress and hope for China. And then their husbands sent messages to their countries. The Emperor is perfectly fine. The Empress can be trusted. The real magic of power doesn't wield by sword or throne, but by a cup of tea, a smile, and a few pearls. What you see is not always the truth. Sometimes the biggest conspiracy is hidden behind the most beautiful smile. The eyes of the Western powers were limited to the high walls of the Forbidden City. Whatever was happening inside was a mystery to them, a curtain behind which history's most cunning chess game had already been set. The truth was, Emperor Guangxu had himself plotted against his aunt. His intention was to have her arrested and perhaps killed. But Empress Cixi was no ordinary woman. She got wind of the conspiracy, and then she did what a cunning, undefeated ruler does. She answered not with words, but with moves. She forced the emperor to voluntarily abdicate, placed him under house arrest, and told the world he was ill. But the punishment didn't end there. The emperor was brought to every state ceremony, smiling, bowing, as if nothing had happened. Now understand that banquet that the West saw as a symbol of friendship and trust. In reality, it was a complete theatrical performance, a famous conspiracy woven with emotions. Cixi hated the West. She considered them uncivilized barbarians. Their wives' strange clothes and artificial smiles were a spectacle in her eyes. But she had to satisfy the West, because if suspicion of the emperor's death became firm, war was certain. So she devised an enchanting plan, not a banquet, a magical stage. Every scene, every sequence crafted with subtlety. First courtiers wrapped in colorful robes, then Manchu ladies in their grand headdresses, and finally the Empress herself, with diamonds, pearls and the aura of power. This was the peak of grandeur, but Cixi knew that descending from grandeur is also an art.
So began the magic of humanity. Personal gifts, warm handshakes, the living presence of the emperor, imperial tea, traditional theatre, and finally that moment when she touched the teacup to her own lips first, then brought the same cup to the woman's lips and said, "One family. We are all one family." The women were mesmerized. When they returned, only one thought remained. We misunderstood the empress. They saw no cruelty, no deceit, only grace, gentleness, and dignity. And then their husbands sent messages to their countries. The emperor is perfectly fine. The empress can be trusted. Everything is fine. But the truth had deceived everyone. And that is what mesmerizing effect does. If you want to enchant someone, don't use words. Occupy their eyes, their ears, their hearts. Every small gift, every ritual, every shining garment,